Hello, right. So this podcast is called Unlocking the Surprising Power of Walking and How Simple Walking Transforms My Chronic Pain. I'll introduce myself. So my name's Cheryl Best. I'm trained as a nutritional therapist. Some people call that a nutritionist. I'm also trained as a yoga teacher. I'm diagnosed with a few chronic illnesses, and I write and speak about health and wellness, and I write and speak about living with a chronic illness. And I've also got some products as well that I'm about to bring out, which is to help people like myself diagnosed with chronic illnesses, but also to help people who are just looking to lead a healthier lifestyle, but lead a healthier lifestyle in a simple way without all the stress that can often come along with trying to change your diet or trying to change your exercise and fitness. Okay, so anyway, let's get on to the post. So onto the podcast even. So this is called, like I said, Unlocking the Surprising Power of Walking. And I've kind of become in love again with walking, and it's kind of been forced upon me because I've had issues with my back. For a few months, I've not been able to walk at all. I've not been able to even do yoga because I've said I'm a yoga teacher and I practice yoga. But when I talk about yoga, I'm talking about the physical side of yoga. I've not been able to do what I would call my normal style of my physical practice of yoga. I've not been able to do that for months because of this issue I've got with my back. And so walking has become my savior. It really has. And walking, really, it's not a very sexy thing to do. You know, when people are talking about exercise, yeah, there's a lot of people that are really into walking, but a lot of the times it's not really walking that people are talking about when it comes to exercise. And I think it's because it's something that is usually taken for granted. You know, it's kind of a normal part of life for lots of people. And cause what I do, if you've not listened to me before, I tend to talk over posts that I've written. So in the post, in the email, because I do this as emails as well, so it's part of my newsletters that I have. So in the writing for this podcast, I said, we're not taught to walk around with dumbbells in our hands when we're 12 months old. Imagine a baby bodybuilder. Imagine that. And that's the point, really. You know, we're taught to walk, aren't we, from a very young age. And then I think by the time we become adults or teenagers, it's something that we just do. We walk. It's not something that we have to learn because we've mastered it. And so because of that, I think we don't really look at the powers of walking, because walking is really a big deal, and I think it's pretty sexy. So anyway, I think, like I've said, when it comes to fitness and exercise, I think for a lot of people the gym is a big thing. And I'm not knocking gyms, because I do think gyms are fantastic. But like I've said, you know, I think the gyms are looking at, you know, when starting exercise, you probably are looking to join a gym. You are possibly looking to be lifting stuff. And for a lot of people, that is the goal, you know, to be lifting heavy stuff. And that's seen as a big deal. And, you know, people are probably striving to push the body. And with the gym, that's how you can do it. You know, you can be lifting more weights, and that might be the goal. It might be the goal that you want to be looking at, you know, adding some extra pounds that you can be lifting, and in your head that is the goal. And pushing the body is seen as an achievement. And look, I get it. In my 20s, when I was practicing yoga, especially when I started off practicing a style of yoga called Ashtanga yoga. And Ashtanga yoga is very fast-paced style of yoga. It's very flowing and beautiful. I mean, I love Ashtanga yoga. But there are postures within the Ashtanga yoga sequence that are kind of hard. You know, you are looking to achieve it. And, you know, usually it's taught that you start off with a few postures, which you kind of practice every single day. And then once you've mastered those, then you're adding on the next set of postures. And so I get it, you know, I get it. And you know, I'm a type of person that does like to be pushed. I come from that kind of pushing mentality because I'm also a musician. And so when you're a musician, you're a bit like that. You know, you want to master your instrument, or you want to get better at things. And so I'm not knocking that side of things. I'm not knocking that at all. But I do think with exercise, a lot of people are striving for that, and maybe see things like walking as not really anything that you can push yourself with doing it. And I don't agree with that. So walking has been kind of a on and off part. It's been a part of my life that's been on and then off. And I've been walking, I would say, for the last 7 years. But like I said, I've had this on and off relationship with it. And I would say for the last maybe 18, well, before I've started the bug again, for about 18 months, I stopped walking, and I started kind of getting more into my yoga practice, but also I added the gym onto that as well. And it's possibly for me, the gym's not suitable. So you know, again, it's saying that some people, the gym's just not going to be their bag. And for me, I don't think it is for me, even though I do love it. I do love the buzz that you get from going to the gym. I really enjoy it. But I've had to step back from it, and my body's kind of said, no, it's not for you. And walking does tend to come into my life when I'm having these flare-ups, these issues with my back, because I just get to the point where, you know, I can't cope with too much physically demanding types of exercise. And so walking is the one for me. And then I come back to it, and I've come back to it again. And the benefits that I've having recently from walking is that it's really helping with my back. I'm really finding a lot of benefits from going out there and walking, and it's gentle for me, and it's really good for me. So this is, like I said, this is to kind of say that for everyone, we don't really need the push. Sometimes you can get as much benefits from doing something that's going to be a bit more gentle on the body. And for me, it's given me a bit of a wake-up call to realise that, come on, you don't need to be pushing. Yeah, you need to be doing exercise of some form most days, or every day if I can. But I've got to slow down, and maybe some of these practices that are quite forceful, as in, like I've said, like Ashtanga yoga, which I absolutely love Ashtanga yoga. But for my body now, I'm approaching 50, and maybe it's not right for me at this age. I don't know, or for what's right for me at this age, and for what's going on with my body at this age. Now, that's not to say that if you're in your 50s, 60s, 70s and 80s that you shouldn't be going to the gym. But for me, at this point of time, maybe walking is really the best thing for me, because it helps me to not push. Okay, so a lot of the times, you know, you might be listening to this as somebody that has got similar issues to me. Maybe you have issues with arthritis, or you might have issues with back pain and sciatica, or possibly slip disc, like what I've got going on, or narrowing of the spine, which is what I've got going on. And you know, a lot of the times we're not really recommended to go out for a walk or to be walking. A lot of the times it's recommending things like physical therapy or physiotherapy. It's recommending things like massage, or going to the gym, or doing these things like Pilates or yoga. But for me, recently, what I'm getting the benefits of for my issues with my back has not been those things that are often recommended. In fact, I'm finding those things too intense for me. And so walking is number one. It's absolutely number one. So also, I put in my post that I appreciate that you may be laid up in a horizontal position, reading, obviously listening to this, and you can't even like envision the thought that you will be able to walk. And you know, I totally get it, because that was me. I've had this issue with this major flare up since February of this year. We're now approaching July, and I had about 2 months where I couldn't move. I couldn't move at all, and especially my left side of my body not moving, not really doing very much. And so I've been laid up, and I couldn't even have these thoughts of being able to walk in the way that I'm walking now. But this is to say that, you know, if you are getting to the stage where you're able to take a few steps, then see if you can work with the walking. Even if that means walking around your house, if you can do that throughout the day and just keep working on that, you'll get so much benefit from that for your health and for your body. Okay, so the back issues for me, I've been been laid up for quite some time, and yeah, it's difficult, because in your mind you're striving to be able to do these certain things, and you want to get back to your normal. But if you are having the issues that I've been having, then you really have to kind of get to the stage where, you know, not looking at where you were and just looking at a day at a time. And you know, it might be that you're walking at the moment, might be the goal might be just to be taking 20 steps in that day, you know, but just have the thoughts in your mind that, yeah, those 20 steps, they most likely can materialize to 5 minutes in time, and then you'll get to 10 minutes. But don't push, you know, just go easy with all of this. Okay, right. So I wanted just to tell you about the benefits of walking, and I have I just looked at some research about walking, and a professor, Mark Hancock, he's an author of a study and a professor of physiotherapy, and he was saying, this is what he says: we don't know exactly why walking is so good for preventing back pain, but it is likely to include the combination of the gentle oscillating movements, loading and strengthening the spinal structures and muscles, relaxation and stress relief, and release of feel-good hormones. And the oscillating movement is a big deal. Now, so when you're sitting and lying down, this is forcing you to be in a static position, and our body isn't designed like that. You know, it's designed to move. So as you are walking, you are kind of swinging your arms and legs, and you'll find that one arm and one leg will be kind of swinging forward, and then you've got the same kind of movement on the opposite side, and this is what is called an oscillating movement. Okay, so also with this, it's not just going to be your arms and your legs, it's also going to be your back as well. So I'm really going for people that have issues when it comes to the back, because it might be that you are trying some of these kind of movements where it's kind of involving you moving the whole of your back. So for instance, in yoga we have a posture called bridge pose, and that's usually like the number one kind of thing that's recommended, not just in yoga but also in like for Pilates, but also when it comes to physical therapy and physiotherapy. And it might be that you're doing that kind of movement for your back and you're probably ending up with more pain. Now for me, I've had to realize that there's certain movements that I can't do because it's giving me more pain. And so with walking, with it being this oscillating movement where one side of the body is kind of in what we call contraction, in the strengthening mode, and then the other side of the body is in a relaxation mode, then that kind of movement is really helping the body, yeah, because you're kind of you're relaxing one side, strengthening the other, and it's that kind of movement that's going to really help, instead of it kind of being these static kind of what you call movements where you're either holding a position when it comes to maybe some of these yoga postures, which are fantastic, but it might be something that for you is not right at this particular moment. So what we really need is these kind of rhythmic movements, and this is what these oscillating movements can allow. So it's like, you know, if you imagine like if you're old enough to remember a grandfather clock where you'd have that like pendulum and it's swinging from side to side, you know, we want those kind of movements, and that's what walking enables. That helps with that happening. So a study was carried out by this Professor Hancock, which involved 701 participants who had recently recovered from an episode of pain in the lower back. And so these participants, they did an individualized walking program, which I think is fantastic because, like I said, you have to work with what's right for you. It's got to be, you know, based and focused on what you're going through at a particular point in time. Anyway, the participants' progress was monitored for 1 to 3 years to look at any new flare-ups of back pain. Now, this is the big thing. So the results showed fewer bouts of activity-limiting pain and showed the reoccurrence of pain averaging at 208 days instead of 112 days, which I think is massive. And if you are a sufferer of back pain, I'm sure you can agree that that is a huge thing, you know, because it might not seem like a big thing, those numbers, but if you can imagine, it might be that you're having flare-ups like every 2 months. You know, you might find that you might be having times where you're having maybe a good month of pain, and then you can release the pain and you feel fantastic for a month, and then then you're having pain again. But if you can look at that, the 208 days, that could mean that you're only having flare-ups once a year. And that is a big deal. You know, if you can imagine having a flare-up once a year instead of it being, you know, 3, 4, 5, 6 times a year, that's a big deal. That's a big deal. And so that study has shown that that's what can happen by using walking as a mode of exercise when it comes to back pain. So it's so beneficial, so beneficial. And so in my writing, I put here, for some reason, I've been hanging on to my gym membership. And I know this sounds absolutely crazy because I haven't been to the gym since February. So we're coming up to 5 months now. And it's this kind of thing again about this pushing, because even in my head, I'm kind of looking at the gym as the goal. I'm looking at that thing as, yeah, I'm going to get back to the gym. And I was going to the gym with my daughter. I've got a teenage daughter. And that was our thing that we were doing together. And she keeps saying to me, Mum, why don't you cancel your gym membership? And I was saying, this was when I couldn't walk. I was saying to her, well, I'm going to go back. I'm not going to cancel that gym membership because I'm planning to get back to that gym. And now my thoughts, because, you know, I've tried different things. I've tried to attempt to do some of the yoga practices that I used to do before, and it's not helping me. You know, I tend to do it, and then sometimes I'm ended up in more pain. And so I've had to do a very gentle, very gentle form of yoga to kind of use it as a way of like rehabilitation. And in the gym, you know, I'm kind of like now thinking it's time to cancel that gym membership. I'm going to cancel it. And you know, I get it when people have these, like, I suppose it's kind of withdrawal symptoms from things that they've done. You know, you hear about these sportsmen and women who have, you know, had a life, you know, of sports since a very early age, and then they get to that point in their 30s and 40s where they're going to have to retire. And, you know, it kind of brings on a bit of a bout of depression because it's been part of their lives for so long. And I mean, I wasn't going to the gym for that long for me to feel like that. But in some ways, I've got a bit of that when it comes to my yoga practice, because I've been able to move in a certain way for so many years. And this last flare-up is kind of like making me think, well, it's time to change. And you need to make walking a huge part of your life. Don't give it up this time. Don't give it up just because you're feeling that, you know, your body's coming back a little bit. Don't give it up. It needs to be a big part of my life. So for me, I'm now at that point where I'm kind of saying to myself, the gym's out and walking's in, and the intense kind of forms of yoga is out, and this kind of rehabilitation kind of side of yoga is in. And it's the side of yoga that I taught for many years. You know, I taught lots of people in like private one-to-ones, and a lot of them came with lots of different ailments, and that's what I worked on. I worked with them, you know, in a rehabilitation kind of way, where it wasn't about forcing the body, it was about gentle movements, and gentle movements to allow them to lead a healthy, happy life. And that's what I need to do. I've got to do that. So the gym's got to go, and the cost of the gym's got to go. And, you know, if you look at things, walking, it's absolutely free. It doesn't cost me anything to step out of my house and walk. It doesn't cost me anything to be in my house and to be walking. It's absolutely free. So my message to back pain sufferers, if you can, go out there and walk. If you can manage it, go out there and walk. If you can manage it, walk in the house, even if it's for a few steps, and have that as your goal. You know, the goal today is that I'm going to see if I can just walk on the spot for a minute, and let's see how that goes. Go for it, you know. It's simple. It is simple, and it might not be as sexy as the gym, but, you know, the simple act of walking, it could give you a lot of peace, which is what I'm finding, because it's not just the physical side of things, but it's also the emotional, mental side of things as well, which kind of comes along with having these chronic illnesses. Yeah, we're feeling things that are happening physically to us, but it's also the mental health side of things as well. And for me, that act of being able to walk, put my headphones on and listening to things, listening to music, and just going with the flow, not even have to think about what my body is doing in some ways, that is immense really for my mental health. And then the pain side of things, like for me, I do notice the difference when I possibly haven't been able to go and walk for a day or two. I do notice things start creeping back, and I can feel things happening with my back. And so the pain relief that I'm getting from walking is huge as well. So benefits of walking, huge. Yeah, it could give you a lot of peace, and it could give you a lot less pain. So I'd recommend it. Go out there and go and walk. All right, so I'll finish up for today. So have a fantastic, wonderful day, and you take care. Bye-bye for now.